Sebastian Vettel, a name that echoes as synonymous with excellence, speed, and legacy in Formula One. After 2 years off the grid, the four-time world champion, who hung up his helmet at the end of 2022, may be about to turn his destiny around. And it's not just any comeback. It's a possible return to the home where he became a legend, Red Bull Racing. Vettel has always been more than just a driver. Ever since he appeared on the F1 radar as a youngster, with that unlikely victory for Toro Rosso in Monza 2008, the world saw the birth of an extraordinary talent. Between 2010 and 2013, he was simply unstoppable for consecutive titles, raw speed, technical mastery, and a perfect partnership with Red Bull. Back then, he wasn't just fast. He was untouchable. But, like every good story, there were ups and downs. His time at Ferrari was intense, emotional, and marked by great moments, but also by frustrations. And finally, his time with Aston Martin was more symbolic than competitive, a silent but respectful farewell. But Vettel didn't leave as just any driver. He left as a moral figure, an activist, an ambassador for sustainability within the sport. And so, when he announced his retirement in 2022, many thought it would be definitive. After all, he himself had said that he wanted to be more present with his family, that the world had bigger problems than racing cars, and that he felt his time had come to an end. But has it really come to an end? So, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and don't leave. The answer may lie precisely in this revelation made by Vettel in a recent interview with Austrian broadcaster ORF. When asked if he would return to Formula One, he did not say no. On the contrary, he confirmed that he is in talks with Helmut Marko, one of the strong men at Red Bull. And get this, we are talking about one of the oldest and deepest ties in the German's career. Marko was responsible for taking Vettel to the top, trusting him since the Young Talent program. And now, the 81-year-old veteran is considering a replacement for himself, someone with experience, intelligence, respect in the paddock, and who understands Red Bull culture like no one else. Sound familiar? Talks between Sebastian Vettel and Red Bull were publicly confirmed. And not from any random source, but from Vettel himself, in so many words. During an interview with the Austrian broadcaster ORF, in the middle of the GP weekend, the four-time champion did not dodge the question. On the contrary, he went straight to the point. Yes, we are talking. An answer that, in itself, carries a huge weight. Because if there is one thing that Vettel has always had, it is honesty. He has never played with the press, never fed speculation frivolously. So, when he admits to this kind of talk, it is because there really is something going on behind the scenes. These conversations, according to news outlets, have been taking place with none other than Helmut Marko, the Austrian veteran who for decades ran Red Bull's youth talent program and who served as Vettel's direct mentor during his meteoric rise. And this connection between the two is not just one of professional respect. It is a relationship built over almost 2 decades, based on mutual trust and concrete results. Marko was responsible for bringing Vettel to Toro Rosso and then elevated him to the main team in 2009. He has seen the German become world champion year after year and knows better than anyone what he can offer. So if there is one person within Red Bull who is capable of supporting Vettel's return to the team's environment, albeit in a different role, it is Helmut Marko. But the most interesting thing about all this is the type of role that is being discussed. It is not, at least for now, a regular driver position, although the idea may sound tempting to any F1 fan. What is being talked about behind the scenes is a more strategic role. The main possibility is that Vettel will take over the leadership of their Bull Junior team, the same driver development program that has produced talents such as Max Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz, Pierre Gasly, and Yuki Tsunoda. This program is a key part of Red Bull's Formula One model, being responsible for nurturing both the main team and the subsidiary, currently called RB, formerly AlphaTauri. And with Helmut Marko approaching 81, it is natural that the team is looking for a smooth transition, someone with charisma, experience, and authority to fill this position. And who better than Vettel? Furthermore, the role being discussed could go even further. Some say that the German could also participate in the integration between Red Bull Racing and the team's engine division, their Bull powertrains, especially now that the partnership with Ford is set to kick off in 2026. Vettel has always been known for his above-average technical interest. He actively participated in the development of cars, gave his opinion on aerodynamic concepts, and engaged with engineers in a way that few drivers did. So putting him in a strategic technical advisory role would be a smart way to use that knowledge in a practical and productive way, without requiring the physical and emotional strain of a working driver. And of course, there is a strong symbolism behind these talks. Red Bull is not just looking at a former driver. It is rekindling ties with the most successful name in its history, at a time when the team is beginning to redesign itself for a new cycle. After all, 2026 will bring a complete change in technical regulations, with new engines, new aerodynamics, and a grid that could change a lot. For all these reasons, the simple fact that Vettel confirmed these conversations already changes the panorama of F1. Because now we are no longer dealing with what if, but with when and how. When will he officially accept this role? How will this transition be? Will he already be in the garages in 2025 as a kind of shadow of Marco? Or will he take over the operation completely only when the new rules come into effect? And what's more, could this return away from the track, at some point, rekindle the spark of a comeback as a driver? After all, we are talking about a guy who is still only 37 years old in 2025, who remains in shape, who has never suffered any serious injuries, and who, most importantly, still has gasoline in his blood. These are the questions that remain in the air. Now that we understand why Vettel and Red Bull are getting closer again, for legacy, for transition, and for strategic vision, it's time to fit this story into the scenario where all this will happen, the 2026 season. Because this is not just about a new year in the Formula One calendar. Before I continue, please like and subscribe to the channel so that the YouTube algorithm recommends this video, and let's go. Starting with the changes to the technical regulations. In 2026, Formula One will take a giant step towards energy efficiency and sustainability. The engines will undergo a profound transformation. They will still be hybrid units, but with a more balanced architecture between internal combustion and electric energy. The electric part of the engine, the MGUK, will be much more powerful, representing around 50% of the total power, while the combustion part will be adjusted to use 100% sustainable fuels. In other words, it is not just a technological update, it is a new racing philosophy. And this is where a fundamental detail comes in. Vettel has always been an advocate for sustainable practices in the sport. Since retiring, he has been involved in environmental projects, demanded concrete actions from F1, and demonstrated a genuine interest in innovative energy solutions. Joining the category at a time when these ideals are finally becoming part of the regulations could be more than a coincidence. It could be the perfect setting for his return. But tell me, what did you think of this video? Comment below because I want to know your opinion, and like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything.